Assembly Cup Series. What a finish!
It's too little, too late from behind, and Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
We knew it was just a matter of time. Hunter Sr. is victorious.
Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
GC Spider Motorsports takes home the 1-2-3 finish.
Welcome in once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another night here of the Mystic Racing League Slim Chickens NASCAR Cup Series here on Friday nights. Race number 11 going to be getting going in just a moment here, and tonight we come to you live from the Monster Mile. It is in Dover, Delaware, Dover Motor Speedway, one of the more unique tracks here on the circuit. I'm Alex Canyon alongside Sagar Boxy, and Sagar, this track, I mean, truly, when they've changed it over to concrete, completely took on a whole new complexion.
Absolutely. Dover is a 1 mile concrete piece, high bank, fast, and unforgiving. That's why they call it the Monster Mile.
And this is going to be the site here tonight of 250 laps of racing coming to you here in just a moment. Cars on the grid ready to get going, and what should be a fun night of racing. Their pole sitter here tonight, the 39 of Zach Millett with a 22.538. Really good time here. Beckett Brown rolls off in the second spot. First time in 3 weeks he's not on the pole, but he'll roll off second. Anthony Marino Jr. in the 45 rolls off third, alongside Devin Curl in the 15 to make up in the fourth spot. Row number 3 is last week winner River Hayes alongside Zachary King in the sixth spot. Looking back to row number 4, Christian Barnes and Isaac Wilson will make up that row, with your top 10 being Landon Kelly, Curtis White. In row 6, Jacob Cochran and Rayshawn Winkfield in the 35.
Coming in 13th, it's Clayton Good. And 14th, it'll be Zach Davidson. 15th going to Reggie Keem and Joshua Gillen in 16th. Zach White next to Aaron Baum on that 9th row. On the 10th, Jared Knopsnyder and David Moyer. Going side by side will be Colin Bollinger and Charles Roberson. Going into 22nd, 23rd, and 24th is going to be Dylan Brumsley and Dustin Lewis. Harold Tucker rounding out all of our participants tonight.
Should be a fun group. 25 cars, 250 laps. Seeing a lot of symmetry here, and what should be shaping up to be a very fun event here from Dover. Dover, one of those tracks that by itself isn't too difficult, except for two things, in my opinion. One, the exit to turn 2. There is a pretty nasty bump going over the tunnel there, that if you are on the throttle at the wrong angle, you are going to loop that car, and that directly leads into the other challenging spot with this track, which is there is not a lot of room to wreck here if something goes wrong. There are walls basically 360 degrees around this place on both the inside and the outside of the racetrack. So if something goes wrong, you're just in the wall almost certainly.
Oh, 110%. We were watching them during the practice session and throughout their qualifying heat. It was awful tricky for the drivers to be able to avoid the concrete barriers. Thought the concrete underneath them was rough. Well, the one outside against the walls, well, that one's going to cause even more damage to their vehicles than the asphalt blade beneath them.
Yeah, absolutely. That is going to be the balancing act they have to tow here tonight. But the pace cars peeled off. We're ready to rock and roll here from Dover. Millett and Brown, your front row, coming out of turn 4 into the restart zone, and the green flag drops on the Dover 250, and already calamity going down the front straightaway. The 9 sideways into the outside wall. That is Reggie Kime. And this thing stays green, but boy, there's already a couple of cars who are going to have some significant damage.
That was a huge pileup. But what about what happened further back? I think that was Millett, who just had a squirrely run. And there comes the yellow flag, neutralizing the field. Now, who's going to get caught out here with this yellow flag thrown a little bit late, in my opinion?
Yeah, I think they were trying to see if those cars that were sideways in the back of the field were able to get going. And the answer was they were, but not fast enough. But to what you were just saying a second ago, the pole sitter, Zach Millett, I don't know if he spun the tires or missed a shift or something here on the drop of the green flag, but he got eaten up almost immediately to the middle of the racetrack. And I think he actually may have gotten pretty lucky here that caution also happened further back in the pack. But not to say that those two things were unrelated, because that whole restart from top to bottom was a little clunky, to say the least.
It was a little sketchy throughout the entirety of the field, but absolutely right. The live stewards having to do their due diligence to wait to see if the cars will get cleared before throwing out the caution to bunch up the grid. It's the last thing we want to see is more laps behind the safety car, or excuse me, I didn't say it. We're behind the pace car, Alex.
Well, I tell you what, while we're under yellow here, very on in the race, might be a prime time to take a look at tonight's race analysis, let people know kind of what to expect here tonight. We're running 250 laps here at Dover, 250 miles. They have 5 tire sets available to them. This is 50% fuel, so expect the fuel window to be about 40 to 45 laps here tonight. Stage is set for lap 65 and lap 130. And, of course, setups by Tier 1 Setup Shop. So be sure to keep an eye out here tonight. We could potentially, if this goes for a bit of a longer green flag run, see some varying pit stop cycles during these opening 2 stages, seeing if people are going to try to gamble for the track position or want to go on the warpath late in the stage with fresh tires trying to work their way through the field.
And we definitely brought that up in our pre-race talks, was that pit window being quite large for the drivers, about 20 laps of a margin. So if you get involved in an incident early on in the stint, it definitely doesn't mean that you're down and out for the entirety of that stage. As we go through the choose line now, looks pretty decisive for the leader.
Yeah, so Beckett Brown going to jump back up to the high side, just where he restarted, or where he started today's race, and that puts Zach Millett once again on the inside here of row number 1. This time, though, not the control car. And I'm sure the 39 looking to have a stronger restart here than the opening start of this race. But you could probably say that about 7 or 8 cars in the field who are looking to have just a clean restart here as they're looking to put their first lap of green flag racing under their belt here. And hopefully that'll be coming next time around. When we take the green flag, it'll be lap number 5 of this event, and they'll be looking for green flag lap number 1. So there is Beckett Brown, the control car, 2-time winner already this season. Looking to see if he can add number 3 to the list here today. Pace car has peeled back down pit road as they'll make their way through turn number 4. Green flag back in the air, and we are racing once again at the Monster Mile. A little bit more contact with the wall there on this restart, but it looks like by and large a lot more cars got away cleanly this time.
Everybody got through cleanly, it seemed like. But further back between Millett and Anthony Marino, it's going to be a squabble, and Marino goes forward. Isaac Wilson, River Hayes, Zachary King, all in line with each other as they come through the final corner. Further back, it looks like there's going to be a move. Charles Robertson trying to get a move on Brumley, but it's not even on yet. It's over and done with already. That's another one for Robertson as he gets one on Davidson.
Yeah, Charles Robertson really making some nice moves early on here in that number 17 machine. Now taking a peek to the inside into turn one, trying to make that pass. Looks like he will. Gets around the 88 of Jacob Cochran. And now Robertson on the move here early. Started 22nd. He has worked his way up to 12th here. We're not even 10 laps into this event. We've only ran a couple under grade, so right now that 17 looks particularly dialed in as we jump back here to the back half of the top 10, where there is a lot of cars all fighting for position here coming off of 2.
Yes, there are so many battles here. They're just brewing up right now, but they'll come to full fruition here in a couple of moments' time, especially as we get into the halfway point of the stage. We do have limited tire sets available for the drivers, so they're gonna have to manage that limitation throughout this entire 250. What do you think the optimum strategy is going into this race, Alex? Just, do you have anything in mind?
I would imagine if you're the leader, you're probably going to try to want to split this thing about in half. The further back in the field you are, though, the little more creative you can get here, at least in the opening stage. And the big hope, I'd imagine, if you're further back in the field, is that someone near you does the exact opposite of what you're thinking. So if you come down pit road early, you hope someone near you goes late. And you can see over the course of the rest of the run how you're going to kind of work your way back to them, or vice versa. And you get a sense of what's going to start working here and what isn't, because that's knowledge you're going to want to have when it comes crunch time with 50, 60 laps to go in this race, and you only have one more pit stop, and you need to know when to break that off. This is all the learning process right now. You have a lot of time, a lot of laps to not only try out how your car is running, but also you'll be able to get a sense of, when I make a pit stop now, how are the cars around me going to react, and how is that strategy working out to stage one? And you can sit on that information for the rest of this race. So a lot of guys, I think, right now just kind of in the learning phase, trying to figure out what's going to be the move here. Of course, you have some ideas going into the race, but you don't actually know until you're out there on the racetrack and you make that first round of pit stops. So we're watching this battle right here. Robertson has worked his way into the top 10. He's battling here with Colin Bollinger, trying to make this move down the back straightaway.
He keeps on charging like a bull in a china shop over and over again, just raging through the track, and I'm just worried about his tire wear. Maybe he knows something that we don't going into this first stage. It just seems a little unlike him to just charge through the field like this so early on, as there goes Bollinger through on Wilson. The side-by-side bout between Dr. Pepper is gonna continue on the high side there for the 53, and works his way around pretty neatly, but can't get it sucked back in until late into the corner. Gets a drive back in on the Valvoline machine. This time it will be the 15 of Devin Curl.
Yeah, Bollinger right now looking really strong. He's picked up a couple spots here in the last couple laps. The couple of folks he's passed are pretty strong cars. Both Devin Curl and River Hayes winners this season. So, you know, it's not like they're just flying by guys who are trapped at the back of the field right now. As we jump back here, a little further on back, good battle going on for 21st. There is the 9 that we saw earlier of Reggie Kime. This was one of those cars who was sideways on the start of this race, trying to hold off Moyer at the moment as they make their way into one. And this is valuable time here, even if you're back outside the top 20. Got to make sure the car's handling all right. Got to keep yourself in the hunt here when you get to that first round of pit stops. Because, you have at least a guaranteed 2 more cautions in this event for the stage 1 and stage 2.
Very true.
Got to make sure you capitalize on the track time you have now and just keep yourself in the mix. You don't want to go a lap down here too early, because then that's going to be a hole you're going to really struggle to dig out of.
Absolutely. Relying on a lucky dog, well, that's just a poor call at the end of the day. Here comes Dustin Lewis in the number 8, trying to challenge forward on Good. Mr. Clayton Good in the number 91 up ahead, and he's got Curtis White in the number 33 behind him. And the all-white, well, number 33. And this is a good-looking pack battle. As I said, they're just brewing up everywhere. But I think drivers are expressing a little bit of discretion here, and understanding that discretion, being the better part of valor, could win them the race at the end of the day. Seen a lot of drivers sit back cautiously and bide their time in the top 10 or just outside of the top 10, only to come back during those caution periods time and time again and climb up to the top step of the podium. It's worked before, it'll work again. I can only be assured of that. Rayshon Wingfield and Charles Robertson, number 17, number 35, on track together.
Yeah, they've got a good battle brewing here. This kind of seems to be where the 17 has settled out a little bit. He flew all the way into the top 10, but once he got to about 9th or 10th, he's kind of stalled out a little bit. And now Wingfield back on the attack here, trying to work his way into the top 10. Just has to get around the 17 to do it. So we're on board here with the 35, coming off of turn 2, and you can feel that bump that we were talking about at the exit of turn 2. Really gets the car unstable, so if you're not on your line, that can be a really dangerous corner exit. Easily the most tricky part of this racetrack. As now here's the move from Wingfield. He'll dive to the inside of the 17, side by side through 1 and 2.
Excellent stuff here as they duke it out. And the Domino's badge machine, that'll be Christian Barnes in the number 27 along the high side, trying to capitalize on the mistake from the 35. And he's going to have the overspeed to the line. And that'll be a great drive for him on the lap 24 for the leaders right now. Beckett Brown leads us going into the 25th lap in front of Anthony Marino Jr. Zach Millett in 3rd place with Zach King in 4th place. And that's a great haul for Zach King tonight, as he, I believe, is up quite a few on the good tonight, up 2.
Yeah, he's up a few, but don't look now. The guy right behind him, that is a man on a mission right now, Colin Bollinger. That guy's up 16 spots, started 21st. He's up to 5th, and he's looking for more. He is only a half second back right now of King and is continuing to forge that number 53 forward. Definitely looking to try to get some early track position here, but it does also raise the question that you were talking about with Robertson earlier of how much is too much in the early going, and are those tires going to pay the price on the back half of this run? We're 26 laps in. The earliest you could pit and then make it to the lap 60 stage is probably about now. You feel pretty comfortable. However, you could run this thing another 10, 15 laps most likely and let this thing really carry out. And we're starting to see some of those cars, those gaps are starting to really come back down as people are starting to reel them in. So we got a great battle here between Matt Snyder and that is the number 9 of Kime, who's in there as well with Moyer. So a good little 3-car battle here for the 20th position on the racetrack. Everywhere we look, there is a couple of cars who have gotten clumped up here and are really going after it here in the early going.
I really can't take my eyes off of anybody right now because we're all side by side. And here is Robertson and Barnes going side by side yet again. It just goes to show you how well equipped these drivers are at the Mystic Racing League to go side by side at one of the toughest tracks in North America.
Yeah, this is not a track for the faint of heart. You know, we were doing a little bit of digging in here before we got going today, and we found a very fascinating article from a physicist that said that you pull about 2.5 Gs in the corner here at Dover every time you go around. You know, that is about every 10 seconds or so. You're getting about the G equivalent of a roller coaster drop every time around here, and they'll be doing that 500 times today, 250 on each end of the racetrack. That takes a lot of mental fortitude. As you see, they nearly get together there off of 4. Lewis and Brumley nearly made contact there. That would have been catastrophic for both the 8 and the 34, but they kept just enough room to keep this thing going. But it did open the door for Baum to try to make a move here for 17th.
And we're getting very close to the conclusion of the stage, and the gap comes down for the lead to a margin that is very tight. For the back, it'll be Zachary King and Colin Bollinger battling it out for P4 and P5 currently.
Yeah, there's a good battle going on here for 4th and 5th, and soon to be potentially a battle for the lead, but we'll get there if it happens. Right now, King is under a lot of pressure from the 53 as they come off the 2. Big inside move. Looks like actually Bollinger's going to think about coming down pit road this time. He's down on the apron through 3 and 4. He was up 16 spots, but he's going to be the first one to bring it down pit road here. Probably fill this thing up with fuel, 4 fresh tires, and going back after it here, trying to get the lap 60. And now, green flag pit stops have begun. I'm anticipating we'll see the rest of the field here over about the next 10, probably 12 laps at the latest. We'll see how many people decide to wait on it now that someone's kicked it off.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, to risk so much, but to split it in half, it's 6 one way, a half dozen the other. Bollinger just making the safe play, I think, by splitting this one down the middle for that first stage, pretty much down to lap 62 or 63 of the 65 stage, basically. So doing a great job of managing the conditions. Let's take a look at the weather. It is mostly cloudy, but the track, well, it's 101 degrees. This concrete just soaking up the sun right now. And the tires are going to be feeling, well, pretty worse for wear.
Yeah, during the early parts of the run, I'm sure they're going, oh boy, hard hit there for Wingfield. That car going to keep pointing in the right direction, but he's definitely going to have a little bit of right side damage there, making contact with the wall out of 4. But to what you were saying, yeah, when you first put fresh tires on, you're going to be like, wow, the grip here is phenomenal. We're really cruising. And then, you know, if you're not paying attention, if you're not taking care of those tires, you are really going to be in a world of hurt on the back half of the run, especially for these folks who are running this thing through the full fuel window. You see Barnes coming down pit road here. Had a little bit of a slide coming into pit road, but got it slowed down in time. Now we'll be making his stop here for the opening stage.
I think that's honestly just the racing line. Coming down pit road at such a high rate of speed, the driver is really doing everything they can to maximize their in-laps when they can. We got battles brewing up everywhere. I can't pick which one we want to stick our eyes on, but here's the battle up front for Marino and Millett. It'll be the battle for the podium, and best of the rest. Back behind will be Zachary King in the number 51 machine.
Yeah, and you could see there in that battle for second, that was the 53 of Bollinger, who is just going around here, or is trying to get around this battle to get back on the lead lap. Easier said than done here. He's in the middle of second and third right now. He's splitting Marino and Millett. But this is what happens, and this I think is going to be something that the leaders are going to see in the moment he gets on by. I got to imagine the leaders are going to think about pitting as well, seeing how much faster these fresh tires are right now. As you see now, Millett to the inside of Marino, looking for the spot here through 3 and 4, coming off the corner, not going to make it that time around, as Beckett Brown continues to try to hold off the 53 from getting back on the lead lap here. Now it looks like Bollinger's going to finally get that pass complete out of 2. and he's just going to set sail. Still has a full track length to go to get back to the lead battle, though. I think someone has missed the entry to pit road. The car who was really slow on the apron coming up. It might have been. It was a car very slow on the apron trying to get back up to speed out of 4. My only thought would be someone who missed the entry there and had to bail out of it last second. It was the 34 machine of Brumley, it looks like.
Not seeing.
So there is the 45 coming down pit road. Yeah, the 34 of Brumley, it looks like he may have just overshot the window. Had to go another lap around, but lost a lot of time on the racetrack.
That's why my good friend Mike Noss would always say, practice, practice, practice your pit stops, folks. So much time that can be gained or lost in the pit stop window, not just only in the service time as well, but just on the entry down to the line and when you start to hit the limiter. Pit road speed limit here at Dover is going to be 35 miles an hour, so the drivers really got to slam on the brakes on that low apron that's full of dust, rubber, and marbles, and then try to get it slowed down to just under 35 before they hit the white stripe.
And that's tough because you typically, I mean, when you're at full speed here, I mean, you're running up to about 170 going into these corners probably. So, like, getting it slowed down to 35 is a painstaking task, especially if you get on the brakes too late. You see the field continuing to cycle through. Only about 10 or 11 cars yet to pit still. First car who came down pit road, I believe, was that 77 machine of White, who is currently in the 11th position. So Zach White in position here to potentially cycle to the front of this field as things go. Only a few more cars need to pit here, and they got helped out with that lap 1 yellow, adding a couple of pace laps to that fuel window, but they're not going to be able to run much further than what they're at right now.
One of the drivers who's running this stint very long right now will be Isaac Wilson in front of Charles Robertson right now, who's really under threat from that 35, who's gonna get their lap back. Rayshon Wingfield down actually 2 laps on the field, but getting that one back on the fresh tires after the pit stop will surely help out his charge. Here comes through Beckett Brown on Anthony Marino Jr.
Beckett Brown in a good spot here. He might be cycling back to the lead when this is all said and done now. It was a good stop for the 48 crew. He just gets around Marino. And now he is the top car, currently 1 lap down, and all the cars in front of him still need to make that stop. A couple of these cars were just folks who pit at that lap 2 opportunity. So he works his way around the 8 now, going to try to maybe get to the inside of, I want to say that's Robertson potentially. Yeah, to the inside of, of the 01 of Davidson. So now he is back on the lead lap, and when everyone else pits, he will cycle back to the front here.
Looks like Reggie Keem just comes down pit road, gets their service on lap 50, but Zach Davidson still stays out, and the order gets all jumbled up now as the battle for the lead continues to be unsettled. Beckett Brown
Here
is
comes
the first.
Davidson.
There goes Davidson.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but
No.
I think that was an important bit of information. So I do think now everyone has pit. So this is now going to be the true test and see where everyone has cycled out to.
A slight bit of important information is that the leader of the race was pitting and that there is a new leader of the race. Just a small tidbit of information that I think the viewers would like to know, but you're absolutely right. Thank you very much for interrupting me. It goes back over to Beckett Brown and Anthony Marino, Devin Curl, Colin Bollinger, Zachary King, and then Landon Kelly. I want to take a look here at the positions gained again. Just Colin Bollinger, you know what? We're going to move right on. We're not even going to mention it. We don't want to do the you know what, right tonight, Alex?
It is a VSPEED classic for sure. But yeah, right now things looking solid for the 53, but also for several other cars in the field who are making some big moves. Robertson's up 13. Even some folks who we haven't talked about as much tonight, just because they started at the back and aren't moving as fast. But guys like that number 8 machine of Lewis, that Dustin Lewis car is looking really solid at the moment. He's up 7 spots, currently running in that 17th position, but he has gained quite a few spots from where he started tonight's event. So a lot of folks through this field just trying to get what they can at the moment, but they're all chasing Beckett Brown, he has just been flying lately. Poles in each of the last 2 races, has 2 wins on the season, most recently Texas a few weeks ago. This is one of the cars to beat at the moment, especially if this opening stage is any indication.
He's really done a good job of controlling the field as well. Throughout this traffic that we've seen the drivers have to plow through so far, well, he's done no mowing, plowing, barging, or elbows out racing. He's stayed very respectful for the rest of the field, regardless of what strategy they were on, and he keeps the lead tight. 3.4 seconds, but it is gaining as Beckett Brown continues to put down fast lap after fast lap. Last time around, a 23.8. Last lap around from Marino, also matching a 23.8 for himself. And we're on lap 58, headed to lap 59 when we cross the line. 4-second gap nearly from the 48 to the 45, Alex.
Yeah, he really opened it up on that pit stop. That gap was less than a second before this pit cycle. But a good stop here and a good exit lap from Beckett Brown has opened the gap to Marino. Devin Curl has worked his way up to 3rd now. And then we jump here to the 53 of Colin Bollinger, who's right in his tire tracks as they make their way back into turn 1. They've got a good situation going. The 15 and the 53 are looking to, one's trying to hold on to that last step of the podium here in the opening stage. The other trying to take it away. Gap right now only about a half a second before you go about another 1.5 seconds back to King in that 5th position, who's in a little bit of no man's land. He's about 1.5 seconds adrift of 4th and several seconds clear of 6th right now.
And there is the driver sitting in 5th place, focused on the task at hand. On lap 61, we get a caution called. And are you seeing an incident come up?
No, I believe that is the end of stage number 1 here from Dover, Delaware. Beckett Brown going to be credited with the stage win after qualifying here on the front row, rolled off 2nd. Gained that 1 spot to take stage number 1, and that number 48 machine absolutely flying here in the opening go of things. Marino, Curl, Bollinger, and King, your top 5 through that stage, with Kelly, Hayes, Robertson, Wilson, and Barnes rounding out the top 10 here of stage number 1. But already it's shaping up to be a banner day for Beckett Brown, led 52 of the opening 62 laps of this one.
Really good drive for Brown there. Led us for 52 of these laps out of the 62. And he's going to make the trip down pit road under this caution period. And it's prime time for drivers to come down the lane, get their service. But it's also prime time for drivers to potentially get a lap back and stay out a little bit longer. But the stage win goes over to Beckett Brown and that number 48.
So you'll see he'll work his way into the box here. Looks like good entry for each of the cars that we just saw there, the 45 and the 15. You got the right sides up, and we'll be getting back on there as well. But also, sounds like multiple cars just got hit with a speeding on pit road. Are you able to confirm that one? Sounds like potentially some of the leaders had some issues there with speed getting on the pit road.
We'll have to see when they come by. I'm seeing a meatball flag. That's all I can see. Maybe when they come by behind the pace car, we'll be able to see the race control display, but I'm not seeing anything just yet. Are drivers complaining still?
I was seeing some potential conversation about it, but the other thing I was noticing there, that was a really long stop for the 48 of Brown, one of the last cars off of pit road, which makes me wonder if he had the hold for a speeding penalty on the entrance of pit road. I guess we'll find out here in just a moment, but either way, he has lost all of that track position that he did such a good job maintaining through the opening 60 laps.
Oh, just tragic for Brown as he falls back into P14 during the safety car period. Just absolute calamity for him.
So the cars who were a lap down from that opening pit cycle getting work done on their machines now after they've gotten a lap back. And that means if things hold the way they sit at the moment, that means Anthony Marino Jr., now your race leader, with Devin Curl, who will be restarting most likely on the front row alongside with him. Both of these cars qualified in the top 5, but we're just a step behind the 48 through that opening stage. But, you know, they say, especially in these next-gen cars, fresh air can cure a lot of ailments that you may be experiencing behind the wheel. And, you know, restarting on the front row is certainly going to give you an opportunity to go out there, grab that fresh air, and all of a sudden you might be finding that car is going to be turning a whole lot better than it was in traffic.
You know, it's funny because everybody's got a setup a setup shop these days that they like to use. And Tier 1 setup shop obviously provides the setups here. And it's nice to have a setup like that provided for you. And that way you don't have to mess around with anything, because then when it comes down to the problems of the car, well, it's understeering, it's oversteering in this corner. Well, the problem isn't with the car or the setup. The problem is with the thing between your headphones. And usually that's the problem with most of my setup issues that I have, is it's just a mind game that I'm playing with myself. It's not the setup being understeery or oversteery or causing me issues to go off. It's usually the fault of my own. But like I said, the setups here provided by Tier1SetupShops.com. If you need a setup, make sure you check out Tier 1 Setup Shops.
And right now, I'm sure the people who are going to be happiest with those setups are the ones who are getting a little bit of clean air on the nose of that race car. We saw it work pretty well for Beckett Brown. Now an opportunity for either Curl or Marino. Race control didn't like the way things were kind of set up here coming to the green that time around, so they've added one more lap to the caution here to try to get these cars kind of packed back together. They were a little spread out that last time around. So we'll be hopefully going green here next time around. It'll be lap 67 when they go green. Curl to the inside, Marino up high. Looks like in both times that we've had the opportunity to see the leader choose what lane they want to take, they've been taking the high side both times. And I can't say that's overly shocking getting up the speed here, because especially getting up the speed in 1 and 2 that first time, you can kind of just let the throttle hang out the whole way around before you have to worry about actually getting on the brakes going into 3. But that is a real advantage, just being able to sit on the throttle compared to the folks down on the inside lane who still need to worry about their throttle input just a little bit more. And that usually is the difference maker coming out of turn 2 on these restarts.
It's always interesting to see these restart zones and the way the drivers manage the race coming from here on out, but we're ready to take the green flag, Alex.
Well, I think we were, but I think they just added another lap to it once again. So the pace car peeled off, and then they bailed out of it again at the last moment here. So once again, the field, I think, 2 spread out going into 3. So these guys are going to keep pacing. They're going to let that pace car catch back up to them. So a little bit of, I think, an unintentional cat and mouse. But this is, especially as a driver, this is one of those circumstances that get a little tricky. Because, you know, you just had a pretty long green flag run. You kind of got into a good rhythm. You've gotten through a green flag pit stop. You know what the tires feel like when you put fresh tires back on.
Yeah.
And now you're just pacing around. And it's not even like, oh, you got going on a restart and a drag. It's just like, just been laps after laps here of pacing. And I think for some drivers, that can really take you out of your rhythm very quickly. And it could cause some problems here trying to get back into the swing of things when they do go green.
It'll be interesting to see because we've been sitting behind the pace car for so long. The tire temperatures have got to be ice cold by this point in time. Who's going to slip up and who's going to trip up on the restart, Alex?
I don't know. We've already seen it once here, especially from the front row. We'll see if it happens again. These tires are going to be very cold. Have to be very careful getting on the throttle here. You're going to want to punch it. You've got to ease into it just enough so they get some traction. But the green flag's back in the air. Here we go once again. Marino with a good launch going in the 1. And it looks like Kelly's going to try to follow him through to the outside. Tries to get around the 15. They're side by side for second going through turn 2.
This is amazing stuff on this restart. Nearly 3 wide. We're going to go racing here at Dover, folks. It's going to be the 53 down to the low side. Devin Carl in front. Charles Robertson in tow, trying to get involved in the shakeup for the podium position tonight.
Yeah, good battle there. Bollinger to the inside, trying to find a way around. Didn't find anything, though. Actually lost 2 spots because of it, as the rest of those cars on the outside just maintained a ton of momentum down the back straightaway. And Marino clipped the wall just a little bit off of 4. It's letting Kelly pull right up to the back bumper here. It's a good battle here between Curl and Robertson as well for third. Everything to fight for right now in the top 10, especially in this top 5 group. Landon Kelly, Anthony Marino battling for the lead. Robertson and Devin Curl battling for third.
Oh, big clatter with the wall for Landon Kelly, and that's going to check him up a huge deal. And now Robertson is going to chase down, knowing that he can smell a little bit of blood in the water. Mistakes brewing from the cars in front, but here comes Zachary King. He's choo-chooing his way forward, and the 51 is looking menacing right now.
Went for a bit of a side draft, almost made contact, or maybe made the slightest bit there with Robertson. Unable to complete the pass that time around in 1 and 2. He'll settle back into the 5th position. As we're watching this, the single filed out here now in the top 10 just a little bit. Gaps anywhere from 1/10 of a second to about 1/2 a second. We're watching here Wilson and Cochran, the battle for 9th right now. And right now this is a fantastic battle, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Barnes right now just trying to hold both of them at bay. There is very little breathing room between those 3 as they go down the back straightaway into turn 3 once again. Here goes Wilson to the high side, going to try to make something happen. And Cochran going to take the middle lane, just gets the slightest bit of air on the nose of that race car because he was glued to the back bumper there.
Amazing brewing battles left and right. Like you said, everywhere I look, just a 10 to a half a second. Separating the entire field. Here's Jacob Cochran again, trying to charge down Isaac Wilson. Number 93 going pretty well here on lap 74, but mistakes like that will definitely cause him to lose a little bit of ground there.
Yeah, he went for a bit of a slide out of 4, and Cochran's lucky that he was able to catch that thing before he got down to the infield grass, because he got from top to bottom. A very accidental elevator move coming out of turn 4 cost him that battle he had going with Wilson. Now he's on the defensive of Baum. He's back up here to 5th. King has a mirror full of Bollinger. He is not the only one, as River Hayes, last week's winner, in the mirror as well. 5th, 6th, and 7th we're watching here as they go through 3 and 4. And if they keep this pace up, they're going to reel in 4th place Charles Robertson here in just a moment as well. And this is one of those moments where, as a driver, you kind of hope the car in front of you just figures it out and gets moving. Because if they slow you up at all, you're in danger of losing out to the cars behind you.
100%, and that's the same applicable logic to road racing as it is to ovals. You just kind of hope that the car in front would just eventually not exist in front of you or just pick up the pace. But you can't drive through them when they're just matching you lap after lap. It's quite frustrating, but it gives you that adrenaline rush that you thrive for in sim racing. The heat of the battle, the thrill of fight or flight coming out of you. It's all or nothing here with the Mystic Cup Racing League.
Yeah, good stuff going here as King now to the middle lane. He's adjusted a little bit here, trying to keep the 53 at bay. Bollinger keeps running about a half lane higher here these past couple laps. Now trying to get a full lane up at the 51 again. Gets up there to try to put the nose in front of him. A little bit of an arrow block as he's trying to hold Bollinger in that 6th spot. And I wonder if this is a move out of necessity, as now the 53 goes to the inside as King went up the block. 53 had gone to the middle lane the past couple laps. This time snuck it to the inside, and now they're door to door in 3. Does he have the momentum, though, to clear this pass? It's not looking likely just yet, but they're going to stay in this battle. Fantastic stuff here for 5th.
And it continues on between Bollinger and King for just a moment longer. And that'll be River Hayes and the number 81 lurking behind, watching the battle brewing. Probably has the best view in the house of what those two up ahead were doing for a little bit, Alex.
Yeah, there is a good bit of stuff going on here in this group. It's been a lot of fun to watch River Hayes now on the attack here to King. And while all this battling has been happening, Anthony Marino Jr. is starting to check out from the rest of the field. He's about a second clear now of Landon Kelly in 2nd. And Landon Kelly starting to find himself at the head of a 6-car train here from 2nd back to 7th of cars who are going to be starting to fight here for positions inside the top 5 if he falls any further back. As Carl's starting to close in, and then we've been watching Robertson on back here for the past couple laps, so you know how ferocious the battling's been there over the past few times around here in Dover.
Charles Robertson, Colin Bollinger, Zachary King, River Hayes, all glued up in their battle packs right now. But how has Anthony Marino been able to check out from the field? Well, his last lap around was just a 10th better. I believe he's just been plugging away lap after lap, building up that gap. And it hasn't happened without hard work and grit. The other one I want to check in on is going to be Beckett Brown as well, but he's further down in the field in 12th position here. We're going to check out Isaac Wilson and Jacob Cochran's battle side by side right now. It will be Wilson on the high line, Cochran on the low 88 line. And he's going to get a little squirrely and have to follow in single file line for the VSPEED machine.
Yeah, I'm noticing some concerns here potentially for Cochran. He keeps getting a great run down the pack straightaway. Gets into a position through 3 and 4 to make this move on Wilson. The problem is, being on the inside off of 4, his car seems to really be protesting. We've seen him now watch the back end of that car step out a couple of times on him. That one not as dramatic as the first time we saw it, but it did cost him some momentum nonetheless. And he's having a really tough time advancing anywhere further than the 10th spot right now, which, you know, is a decent enough running position. However, as he's starting to get people closing in on the back bumper, he's going to want to try to clear these folks faster than what's happening right now, and simply cannot find the traction he needs in those rear tires coming off of turn 4 to make that pass stick as things go. Baum filling up a lot of the rear view here, and you don't need to ask about who's behind them, because that's Beckett Brown, who's led a number of laps in this race. So if he starts getting those wheels moving again, he's going to be a real challenge to hold off as well. As we're back up here for fourth, Robertson under attack from Bollinger in the 1 and 2.
Amazing. These battles are relentless. Every time we peel off of one, we find another. And this time it's going to be for fourth and fifth. River Hayes again lurking on that high line in number 81. Ready to pounce should anything be popping off, and a little block there from the Dr. Pepper number 53 machine, and River Hayes stayed locked into the bumper, did not even glitch from that move.
Yeah, that was an ambitious pass, even more ambitious block, but then nicely done from Hayes to keep that pressure on for a little bit. Now backing up just a touch, I think trying to make sure those tires are cooled off and ready to go for the next time the opportunity is going to present itself. That's one of those situations as a driver where okay, if that's how we're going to do things, I'm going to make sure I have the right opportunity to get alongside you immediately, to not give you the opportunity to try to make a block like that again. And that opportunity is going to really present itself if these guys stay side by side like this. Robertson on the high side, Bollinger down low. Back in 1 and 2 they go. Hayes laying in wait, watching this battle as he starts to work his way back up to him. Side by side, still for the fourth position. And this is not going to be helping either of these drivers reel in Devin Curl, that is for sure. But Bollinger going to complete that pass here now off of 4. And you see he's up to the fourth spot, and that car just seems to be dialed in today. He continues that march to the front.
Speaking of marches to the front, here comes Beckett Brown trying to charge through the field, currently running way further down the field than I think he'd like to be. In 11th position after an assumed penalty in the pit lane for Brown. Started in second, led us for 53 laps, and took the first stage win. But now outside the top 10, is there anything that Brown can do to climb back in? Juicy Spider Gaming is in the house. What's going on, Juicy Spider?
They've joined at a good time here. There's a lot of battling going on around the racetrack. And here's another one. Robertson and River Hayes going after Bollinger cleared the 17. Now the 81 feeling like it's time to do the same to the inside. Very similar to what we saw the 53 do a couple laps ago. Will he be able to complete this pass here in the 1? Looks like he's got the advantage, just has to clear. Not quite there yet though. Robertson fighting hard on the outside. Going to keep this a battle for at least a lap longer.
Just a lap longer. These fellows have battled it out for the last dozen laps or so. I feel like this one's going to be dragged out to the checkered flag even. Bollinger, Hayes, Robertson right now, all duking it out for best of the rest from fourth on back.
Well, might not be fourth on back for long. Devin Curl has a lot of company here for third. As Bollinger now going to take a look to the inside off of turn 4. Not quite there yet, but starting to put the pressure on. This is the first time really since we've got going on this green. We've seen some real battling in this top 3. And Bollinger just going to fly on by. He's now to the 3rd position. Curl drops on back to 4th. And one thing I think it's worth keeping an eye on is that the 53 was one of the first cars down pit road last stage, which I think allowed him to be a bit more aggressive on that opening set of tires. I wonder if he's thinking a similar thing here, because he has been driving very aggressively trying to make some of these passes happen.
That's a great concept. Colin Bollinger really did a great job in that first stint. It just went his way, but now it will be Devin Curl who takes that strategy away from Bollinger and will be the first to blink, headed into the second stage. It'll be the number 15 coming down pit road here and now. I guess that answers that question of if the stage was primed for the pit stops or if it was a little too soon And that question came, went, and was answered.
Certainly was. So Devin Curl, one of the first cars, at least from this lead group, to make their stop. Got to imagine we'll see the rest of them be making their way on down here fairly soon. The one thing I think that may be giving some of these drivers some pause here on immediately jumping down pit road is the fact that there is only 5 sets of tires available over the wall, and with needing a minimum of about 6 stops to make it to the end of the race here, even if things worked out perfectly, you'd be going through all your sets if you put on 4 every time. So I almost wonder if there's some folks who are trying to maximize each of these early sets of tires and then, only changing, right side, or just trying to, limp through on the scuffs for the rest of the stage, or what the move might be. Really curious to see, because having a tire advantage at the end of this race could prove to be really, really important if people start getting into tire trouble with only the 5 sets available, if people were taking them every stop here.
It could be absolutely huge for the drivers, and there's another one. I think that'll be River Hayes. It is River Hayes who comes down into the pits. Anthony Marino Jr. down pit road as well, leaving Robertson to battle with King. P3 and P4, but Christian Barnes, Isaac Wilson, Beckett Brown, Rishon Wingfield, and Aaron Baum. Oh, just 7 other cars are also battling for that same exact position on that same piece of concrete as you right now. A blanket could be thrown over the drivers, as it's just 2 seconds between that entire pack.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you can see every time we're watching King go on by, you see the rest of them in the blink of an eye here. That is this entire pack from 3rd on back to 9th as they run. Looks like a couple takers for pit road, 27, 48, and 35 all going to make their stops here. So Barnes, Brown, and Wingfield all stopping here on lap 106. We're about 25 laps from where the scheduled distance is for stage number 2 here tonight. Set to come out around lap 130, and then about 120 laps to the end of this thing after that stage 2 caution. So pit stops underway. We're on board here with the 88 of Jacob Cochran as he is back on the racetrack here after his 2nd stop.
And at a track like Dover, I have to beg the question. Doesn't seem like it's like Charlotte, where you don't need a battle buddy at all whatsoever. But this isn't exactly a drafting track either, is it? So it begs the question of, do the drivers absolutely need to dive into pits with someone, as we see Jacob Cochran work his way back up into the top 10 with a unique pit strategy?
Yeah, I don't think you need a draft partner here at Dover. I think if you have one, there is some marginal but noticeable benefits, just because you do get up to about 170 on the straightaways here. I would say anything probably up over about 150, you start noticing just a little bit of that draft help. So it's just for a split second on these straightaways, because by the time you hit 170, you're right back into the corners. As you see Zachary King, he's done with his stop. He's trying to get back onto the racetrack here, just digging through piles of marbles here at the bottom of the racetrack. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think you don't base your strategy too much around other people, with the exception of, okay, if they're pitting now for fresh tires, where do I want to position myself, either with fresher tires or with track position, to try to get the advantage over him. As you can see, Marino clears Devin Curl there, cycles back up to 2nd as far as cars who have pit. Landon Kelly right now, the top driver who has, just trying to hold that gap over Marino. If Kelly does, this would be a huge boost for him, because he was several seconds back of Marino before this pit cycle.
And it's been shown time and time again how powerful it is to have those sets of tires available to you to be able to go much faster than the rest of the field. I mean, we saw Colin Bollinger make up 16 positions tonight. Many others climbing through the ranks of very competitive drivers, I must say. These are drivers with 4, 6 KI rating, very well respected in their fields, what they do. And we've seen hard chargers just shake and bake the order up, and it's been a pleasant surprise this evening, as it hasn't been a one-stop shop or a one-horse show.
It really hasn't. We've seen some cars kind of come and go throughout the field, and even when we thought we had a handle on this race at the end of the first stage, with like, oh, the 48 looks fantastic. Pit road troubles brought him deeper into the field, and he still hasn't really recovered from that. Even through this pit cycle, when everyone pits, he'll work his way, I think, back up to 9th. So nowhere near that the car that led 52 of the opening 62 laps from what we've seen.
Definitely.
So Robertson and Wilson have stopped here, which means this will cycle out the rest of the field. Marino, Kelly, and Curl, I believe, will be your top 3, and I do not think that is any different from what we saw before the pit cycle, with the exception of, I think Colin Bollinger actually lost some ground here, as you see Devin Curl to the inside of Kelly for what will be second in just a moment.
Bollinger sitting about 12 seconds from the leader. That'll be Isaac Wilson currently, and Charles Robertson, but they're in pit lane, so the order gets jostled around, and it goes back the way of Anthony Marino Jr., and he's got a commanding 2.4 second gap to Devin Curl behind, who's got the likes of Landon Kelly chasing him, and Jacob Cochran, who gave a lick of the stamp and a send.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with what's going on with Landon Kelly right now. He's on fresher tires than just about every car in front of him, yet he seems to be running a really high line here and just kind of letting people go whenever they get up to him. He's losing a lot of time to the race leaders. I wonder if he's trying to maybe work some sort of tire advantage where he really lets these tires, really takes it easy on him for the rest of this stage, and then potentially looks at not switching them out at the stage break here at about 13, 14 laps or so. Or I don't know if that's exactly what's going on, or maybe there's just some issue with the 95, but you see River Hayes just fly on by as well. I mean, these are cars that came in and are on older tires now than the 95, and they're just flying by them, especially in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not even, no comparison. I'm literally speechless at the speed comparison between Landon Kelly and the rest of the field. River Hayes just walks right on by without a challenge. Zachary King tumbles down the order into 11th position is where he'll cycle right now behind Beckett Brown, who's on that hard charge back up to the top 10, and he's found it here and now, but literally on the cusp of the top 10 as he sits in 10th position. Up ahead, the battles are continuing to stay glued together. You can see from the close-up cameras even that there are just packs from 3rd all the way down to 13th. Not more than a second separates that whole group of drivers.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on there. As you see, Zachary King continues to try to work the inside here of Beckett Brown. The varying levels of success. Hasn't been able to complete the pass yet, but has been able to get a nose alongside a couple times now. And if he keeps this up here, he might be able to grab that 10th spot here before the stage break. Brown trying to hold on to it. I'm really surprised we haven't seen the 48 make up more ground here with how fast he was in that opening stage, but this goes to show, once you get used to a car that's driving in fresh air, that doesn't always translate to a car that's equally as fast in traffic. As you see, he is just fighting right now to try to stave off Zachary King, who continues to harass the back bumper of the 48.
Rayshawn Wingfield and Colin Bollinger here and now. Bollinger's through on Wingfield. Or is it done and dusted? Now, no, it's not, as the 35 challenges yet again, but the 53 is there at 1 and 2 on the low line. I think these gentlemen are going to have a battle amongst the soda companies. The Coke Zero versus Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, good battle going here, and they're about to hit not lap traffic because it's for position, but it is Landon Kelly, who we've been talking about just pace-wise to the rest of the top 5 here. But something doesn't seem to be connecting right. He seems to really be trying to either work in this top lane, or that lane seems to be the only way where that car wants to turn around. So it's been fascinating to watch whatever's happening there with the 95, but they are going to probably try to use him as a pick here. As you see, Bollinger going to dive it into the inside. He'll make that pass, and boy, Barnes is right there to the inside of Wingfield as well. They almost got together off of 4.
That was dangerously close. A little three-way squabble there, as I think Landon Kelly is trying to perform some damage limitation right before we get to the conclusion of the second stage.
Here goes Wingfield again, back to the inside on the 53. This battle gonna go all the way till the stage break, I believe. Wingfield now in the top 5. That 35 really has woken up here in this second stage. We were seeing him kind of trapped just outside the top 10 a lot of the opening 60 laps, but stage 2 has done some wonders here for Rayshon Wingfield. He's now up into the top 5 looking for more. As Barnes to the inside of Bollinger as well. And he might take that 6th spot here off of 2.
Looking good. Nothing better than a little pizza and a nice big Dr. Pepper, right? Especially as we head into the stage break.
These two cars really meant for each other, and by each other I mean me specifically here when we hit the commercial break eventually. Unfortunately, I have neither of those in my apartment right now, but I wish I had the ability to change that with the snap of my fingers.
We'll get a quick break here in just a few moments' time, but for now, Beckett Brown continues to chase down the rest of the field. Charles Robertson might be his next victim. Further back, it's Zachary King and Aaron Baum. Headed down in towards the high banking is going to be Zachary King trying to find that high line, like you said. That's being set by Landon Kelly. There up ahead is going to be Brown and Robertson grinding and rubbing each other. And no, this isn't a dance floor nor club. This is Dover, baby.
It was a physical battle there between those two. Looks like Brown got the better end of it. Baum slides on through the 10th. Robertson drops back to the 11th position, as the leaders here are going to come by to start lap 131. That should do it here for stage number 2, just waiting on the flag to make its way out. And there it is. So Anthony Marino Jr. going to win stage number 2 in a pretty convincing fashion. He got that track position when there was trouble for Beckett Brown on pit road, and he never gave it up. Devin Curl, River Hayes, Jacob Cochran, Rayshon Wingfield, your top 5 with Barnes, Bollinger, Kelly, Brown, and Baum, your top 10 here in stage number 2. But all eyes now turn to the 45 of Anthony Marino Jr., who had a very, very convincing stage number 2. And I'm very curious to see what happens here if he's able to, not have issues on pit road like our stage 1 winner, and is able to keep that car out front, because he looks really fast at the moment.
He sure does. We'll have to take a look at what the 45 does. As he touches the apron, it looks like it'll be a pit stop behind the pace car. We're going to take a quick commercial break, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Donnie Kite's going to get through it all and score his first career win in the Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series. What a finish! Too little, too late from behind, and Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
He knew it was just a matter of time. Hunter Sr. is victorious.
Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
GC Spider Motorsports takes home the 1-2-3 finish.
Kite's going to get through it all and score his first career win in the Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series. What a finish!
Too little, too late from behind, and Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
We knew it was just a matter of time. Hunter Sr. is victorious.
Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
GC Spider Motorsports takes home the 1, 2, 3 finish.
Welcome back, folks. High above the high banks of Dover Motor Speedway, I'm Alex Gagnon. Sagar Boxy alongside with me here. We are bringing you coverage of the Dover 250, just past the Stage 2 mark. And the big story there, while we were side by side with the commercial, Rayshon Wingfield, little pit strategy call here. He'll cycle up now in front of Anthony Marino. And that car really was coming to life here at the end of Stage 2. A little bit of fresh air may do it a lot of good.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Rayshon Wingfield, able to set himself up here on lap 134 to be the runner at the top spot. And let's see what he can do with it now as we get those drivers to express their wave around procedure as they were trapped between the leader and the pace car. I didn't make that same mistake twice, Alex.
Well, right now, I think the leaders are going to hope that no one makes the same mistake twice with what we saw on the opening lap of the race. We've talked about it a couple times, but it is really important to stress that that is something that can very much happen here on cold tires here at Dover. We saw it on that opening lap. Multiple cars having a tough time getting traction, going around, brought out the only naturally occurring yellow of today's event. This is going to be a really interesting restart here, I think, because we know Marino's got speed to pull away, but he does not have the preferred lane on this restart, which could make it a bit of a challenge. Speaking of which, pace car is going to peel off, so we're going to see how that's going to resolve here right now. Wingfield and Marino into the restart zone. Final stage of this one underway. Green flag in the air. Wingfield did not get a good launch, and Marino going to actually take advantage, and he'll jump to the top spot here through 1 and 2.
It's a good launch for Marino back into the lead, but it's going to be 3 wide, almost 4 wide, further back as Rayshon Wingfield keeps on tumbling down the order. He's trying to perform damage limitation, but the hemorrhaging has already begun. Devin Curl, the next one to take advantage of Rayshon Wingfield's lack of pace. Jacob Cochran trying to charge his way in the number 88 VSPEED machine as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of battling happening right now. We're starting to see some speed variable as the 35 really not cornering the same way that a lot of these guys on fresh tires are. Paying the price for it right now, already back to 7th and beyond. Meanwhile, here comes Christian Barnes up to 2nd, the highest he's been here tonight. And he's looking for the top spot. He's on the back bumper of Marino going into turn 3. And he's taking Colin Bollinger with him.
It's looking good. It's looking great here with VSPEED, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for showing up and showing out this week here with Mr. Cup Racing League. It's going to be a good drag for Marino, but I think a better run for the number 27 to Christian Barnes, and it will belong to him getting to the stripe. It will go Barnes's way. We might have a change for the lead again here and now. This time it goes the way of dominoes.
Yeah, good battle for the lead here into 3. Oh, Wingfield's around off of turn 2. Huge wreck down the back straightaway. Everybody's in it. It is a parking lot entering turn 3. It just as the battle was heating up between Barnes and Marino for the race lead. It is promptly shut down in a multi-car collision off of turn 2. Started here I think here with Wingfield in the 35, take a look here as we make their way to the exit of turn 2, tried to slide in here behind Brown, and actually I think got a piece of him, although I don't know if that was the 35 or if someone got into him who got into Beckett Brown. Either way, everyone goes around, and something we talked about at the top of the show is when you spin here off of turn 2 specifically, there's nowhere to go. And that collected everybody because there's just nowhere for cars to filter off of the racing surface when you're sideways.
Yeah, that one was really just so close. The margins here are razor thin between the drivers. I mean, you could see the Rayshon Wingfield and Brown were going wheel to wheel, and it didn't look like it was an over-aggressive move or something that you would say would be moderately aggressive. It was just riding in line, and the nose probably just clipped Brown and sent him off coming out through turn 2. It was happening so fast as well. Beckett Brown, just a passenger in that, and he was having a great recovery run as well. Into the top 10, now sits, comes down pit road, and this is going to be a long pit stop for Brown.
Yeah, it is, and I'm sure this is going to be a frustrating one for him, probably one that's feeling like it's getting away from him after leading 52 of the opening 62 laps of this race. Got that pit stop trouble at the end of stage 1 that put him back in the field, and he was just starting to kind of work through that here. And now some heavy damage. And this is not the first time in recent weeks where he's led a good bit of laps and has not walked away with the result he wanted. Got a top 5 a few weeks ago. I believe it was Texas where he led over 100 laps but did not walk away with the race win. Finished 5th in that one. That being said, with the race that we've got going on here, I think he'd be more than happy with the top 5 if he's able to work his way back to it. It has about 100 laps to do so, but it is going to be a real uphill battle now after that damage.
That was a huge one. And Alex Gagnon, I'm going to say it. You just had to say something about the cautions, didn't you? You literally just said something about the caution. Like, oh, we only had one caution. How great is that? La-di-da-di-da. And then Rayshon Wingfield just absolutely is obliterated in the biggest accident I've probably seen in my NASCAR career so far. That was huge. That was a huge wreck.
It collected a lot of cars for sure. Definitely unfortunate that it happened just after we were talking about the fact that there had only been the one natural yellow to that point and the 2 yellows for the stage cautions. But
it's almost like there's a phrase for it, Alex, when a commentator curses a driver. Oh man, if it just rolled off the tongue as well. Oh man, maybe you can help me out with that. You might. Yeah,
I'll start figuring out some synonyms here for commentators curse. Certainly, it wouldn't be those 2 words.
That's what it is. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, super unfortunate. That being said, I mean, we did talk about the 2 things to keep an eye out here for Dover. Was the exit of turn 2 and how smaller incidents can lead to larger ones because there's nowhere to go, and we got both of them on that incident, so
yeah,
hopefully that's the only time we end up seeing that here tonight. But that was a big one, and I think that's a real wake-up call for a lot of the drivers in the field because we had so much green flag racing through the opening 140 here that it's a good reminder, right? If you're caught in traffic and your tires aren't the same as the rest of the field, or at least not within the same striking distance as the field, opportunities like that become significantly more likely. And I think that's going to be a good reset here for a lot of folks to be like, okay, if we're going to try something strategy-wise, we got to wait till the very end of this thing to try and try to make something happen, because Wingfield tried staying out there on the older tires and it did not work.
And Zach Millett giving an update in chat. He got a 40-second hold for 36 miles per hour pit exit. A rough one.
Well, the green flag's back in the air here. It's Marino and Bollinger going to take him down to turn 1. Marino with the advantage, has the control car. Good launch for him. The 53 settles in the second. Barnes will slide into third. And already through the top 10, everything pretty single file till you get back to about Kime in the 10th spot here. So things settled down just temporarily, just for the moment. We're watching some battles unfold here just at the tail end here. Landon Kelly in a bit of a whirlwind right now. He's battling with White and with Robertson.
And Curtis White, worse for wear in that number 33. He's got significant damage to that front nose, and that's going to be causing him to fall down the pack pretty substantially. He might even get caught up by Brown, Kime, and Wilson here shortly. Up at the front, it's still Anthony Marino and Colin Bollinger, separated by just 0.2 of a second. Christian Barnes in third place. Has River Hayes closing down behind as well.
So we're taking a look here. There is the battle for the lead. It is Marino under a lot of pressure here from Bollinger. We know on fresh tires, the 53 loves to be aggressive, loves to make some moves here. He's worked his way from 21st to 2nd, looking for one more position to add to the cap here tonight, and he'll get all the way up to the lead potentially if he can find a way around Marino, but that is a task easier said than done. A lot of clean air for the 45 right now, and it is really helping him maintain speed through these corners.
Looking good for Marino, even better for Bollinger tonight, and they're all on the same strategy pretty much. The top 6 all came in on 133. Everybody else falling in at 142 or right around there. A little bit of sliding for those in the lead of this event right now. The 45 leaving the door open ajar for the 53 to potentially have a look coming out of turn 4. But he can't quite act on it just yet. Again, now switching back, taking the high side is Colin Bollinger.
Yeah, he continues to try to find a way to make this pass work. Now looking to the inside in 3 and 4. He's got a nose there. Just was not able to stay on the throttle all the way around. Had to get out of the throttle just a bit there when he wanted to try to pull alongside. Forces him to drop back once again. Tight maneuvering there in 3 and 4. Bollinger will take 1 and 2 to reset up the attack here. And I think on this part of the racetrack, next lap is when we'll be looking at another potential move here if he gets a good run this time by. Seems like Bollinger really good at utilizing the draft and really good at making time here in 1 and 2. It's just trying to clear him out of 4 seems to be the tricky part. You see once again on the gas here on board with Bollinger, and you know, after that close call a couple laps ago, seems that he's kind of settled out here about 3/4 tenths back of Marino. Wondering if he's just trying to cool off the tires a bit, or if he's just having some trouble reeling them back in now, because he has got Barnes kind of right in the mirror as they make their way down the backstretch once again here. Lap 154, less than 100 laps to go here from Dover, and it's going to go faster than you think.
Yeah, Barnes really doing a great job tonight, closing down the gap on Colin Bollinger and charging through the field himself right now. It's really just surprising to see these 3 not running away with it. I think the most important thing is that they're managing their tires throughout the entire 250 that we have. Because of the limited tire sets that we have available, they've got to manage that wear, and it could be dramatic at a track like Dover. The weather still pretty hot, not into the hundreds, but still into the 90s, 93 degrees for the track temperature, mostly cloudy skies at 74. We've only had 4 cautions brought out in this race so far, and 2 of them resulting from the competition cautions. Excuse me, from the stage completions. And
one thing that you mentioned, though, that I think is a good point to note, last time we checked in with the track temperature, which I want to say was around the end of stage 1-ish, track temp was 101.
Right.
So while it's still kind of warm, it's definitely cooler than it was earlier on, which should help these guys, I think, long term with helping the life of their tires if they don't, chew them up in the first 10, 15 laps of the run. This is working into more of a long run scenario if this keeps up. But now the sun looks to be poking out a little bit more than it was earlier, so maybe we'll see that start to go back the other way. I don't entirely know. What I do know is that this has got to be a frustrating time as a driver. You start to get a sense of how the track is running when it's cloudy. All of a sudden the sun starts to poke its way back out just a little bit, and you're like, man, now it's got to start handling different all over again.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit challenging for the changing conditions. It's one of the beautiful things about the simulator that we play on or that we run. It's got so many dynamic things to it. The track evolution, the weather changing, the rain factor, the dust, the debris. It all leads to drivers having to get a little creative with racing lines and their adaptability. And here, across 250 laps, or 250 miles of race running, it's really all about consistency rather than your outright pace and your grit.
Yeah, and that consistency is going to be key, and I don't think there's been a better example of that to this point than our race leader, Anthony Marino. I mean, he has been lock solid since basically he's taken over the lead. And he has not looked back since. I mean, he has been just putting laps away, and every lap he goes by, it's 0.05 quicker here, a 1/10 quicker there, and that starts to really add up over a long green flag run. That gap right now close to a second. We saw before the stage last time around he had gotten that gap all the way out to about 3.7. I mean, this is the car to beat right now with less than 90 laps to go. Anthony Marino Jr. looks incredibly strong at the moment.
Coming in with that second stage win as well. It was a good haul of points for Anthony Marino Jr. driving that purple number 45. But further back here, it'll be Hayes, Curl, and King, all jostling for position. And I see Lillian King in the chat as well, cheering on, I assume, her son, Zach King.
It's also pulling for the 15 of Devin Curl, and these are the two cars who are going to war right now, the 15 and the 51. Well, it was 4th and 6th. They're within the same striking distance here. So Curl's going to clear Hayes here for the 4th spot, and that 3rd car in the battle that you're seeing, actually, I believe, is Zach Millett, who is trying to get back from that speeding penalty. The pole sitter has a lot of speed in that race car, but right now not really able to show anything for it. He's currently scored 2 laps down in the 16th position and would not be in position to get the free pass. So this is a day that certainly has gotten away from the 39, but trying to salvage what's left of it here with 90 laps to go.
Man, time flies when you're having fun. I cannot believe that we're more than half the way through this event already. It's just been so action-packed from the word go. It really hasn't stopped. Here's Landon Kelly and Jacob Cochran, pilot of the 88 VSPEED machine. I'm going to keep bringing him up because, well, we're VSPEED and we love the number 88, don't we?
I certainly do. We appreciate seeing the the VSPEED on the side. But the other thing that I'm sure Cochran's saying right now is he's appreciating the fact that he has an opportunity to jump up to the 7th spot here.
Yeah.
Landon Kelly not all too far in front of him, about a 3-car length gap right now between 7th and 8th. And, we've seen the 88 kind of bounce all around the back half of the top 10, just outside the top 10 today. So right now running 8th, this is a pretty good spot for the 88 as he continues to try to work his way to the front. And that starts with trying to reel in Landon Kelly here. And I think the 95 has finally got that outer lane to start working the way he's looking. He was really struggling at the end of stage 2. He was the only car running up that high and was losing a ton of track position. That seems to be stabilizing a little bit now, and I think it's because he's taking a bit more of a diamonding approach to the corner versus just running up high. You see he really cuts down on the exit of 1 and 2. A little bit less so here for 3 and 4, but take a look at the 95's exit off of turn 2 here and how much he works his way back to the bottom of the racetrack at the apex of the corner. I think that is the line that's really starting to work for him here. He's not necessarily going too far forward. He was only about a 10th quicker than the race leader that last time around. But it is starting to stabilize a little bit, and that might be a way for him to sustain some long-term health in those tires in a way that is going to keep him competitive here in the top 10.
And Kelly running in 7th position. Landon has had a little bit of a roller coaster of a run this race. Was up towards the front for a little bit, fell back in the pack. I think was involved that incident with Beckett Brown, if I'm not mistaken, but able to work through cleanly on the restart and hold on to 7th position here and now. And I was just looking at the timing tower. I wasn't sure if we were getting another pit. Was that Zach White into pit lane potentially?
Let's take a look here. Zach White is not on pit road yet. 77 currently running in that 17th position. That being said, got to imagine we're starting to get close to that point. That last caution came out lap 144. If people pit then, they could be able to stretch this out probably to about 190, maybe 195 with a couple of caution laps they ticked away. So even if they pit them, this is probably about 20 laps left in this fuel tank. If you did not pit the lap 144 caution, well, then that window is even sooner, probably to the tune of 8 to 10 laps.
So if my math is mathing, we still need 2 stops to make it to the end. Is that correct? As we first get Bollinger coming down pit road. Riddle me this, Batman. Is it 1 or 2 stops to make it to the end? I believe you have to make it 2 stops at this rate, especially if you're pitting this early.
Yeah, no, if you're Bollinger or if you're River Hayes, this is absolutely a 2-stop run to the end here. This should probably take you to about, say, lap 205, 210, and if you get the 210, you're good to go the rest of the way. If you're someone who pit at lap 144, if you're able to stretch it to lap 195, you might be able to go 1 stop to the end if you get some caution help on the back end.
Sure.
But at that point, the tires are going to be cooked to the point where you're probably going to want a fresh set of tires anyway. So I think just about everyone is going to be stuck in a 2 stops to the end here situation, even for the folks who are going to run this one long.
Very, very true. And very important stats for the drivers to be aware of if they weren't already. Most of them well equipped to deal with the challenging and changing conditions. Here comes Zachary King around the 81. That'll be River Hayes he's getting around, who's going to be a lap down, but on fresher tires should be able to escape up the road.
We take an onboard look here with Zachary King in that 51 as he is getting ready to make his stop down onto the apron. And that is someone who is locked in, ready to make sure they do everything they need to here on pit road. Don't want to overdo it. Pit road speed, we've talked about at 35 miles an hour here, and they've already dinged a couple drivers for even going 36. So got to keep that speed down, get into the box cleanly. Don't want to slide through it. Put 4 fresh tires on there, fill this thing back up, and get back onto the racetrack as smoothly but as quickly as possible. So it looks like a good entry here for the 51. Looks like the driver fueling up as well here as we're ready to watch him get back onto the racetrack in just a moment.
Love the eye on the track, love the eye on the drivers. Just adds a little bit more personality and flair. We get to see what wheelbase they're using. We get to see so much information about the driver as I take a quick little break down pit road and a quick break from the simulator for just a moment. Zach King back out onto the racetrack.
So as this pit cycle is underway, we have about 8 cars yet to pit to this point. Lap 183 on the board right now. Anthony Marino Jr., the lead car of those who have pit. Landon Kelly, the lead car of those who have not. And we're watching here a couple of these cars who have not pit yet. This is 5th back through 8th. White, Kime, Davidson, and then Barnes just a little further back as well. Actually, I believe Barnes is just pitting now, so he'll cycle through this in just a second. But some good battling here for some guys who are trying to outmaneuver each other relative to where they're going to cycle out on their pit stop. You know, they're not necessarily fighting for the race lead at this moment in time, but they are absolutely fighting each other for track position before this pit cycle. So a lot of maneuvering to be done and positions to be gained here before they consider coming down pit road, as Marino and Davidson almost got into it there on the back straightaway.
Man, oh man, it's going to be tight and hectic. I cannot believe, though, that White manages to stay out in the lead of this trio with all that damage that he has. It may not be for too long. I may have just spoken the curse there as the 9 goes through. That'll be Reggie Keem. And then the rest of the battle pack will immediately follow suit on the number 33.
Taking a look here, this is Kime taking a look, trying to get by Wilson. Well, he has some work to do to get up there, but we are on board here with the 9 of Kime. We're watching, these are the last couple cars, and it'll be interesting to see how far they can stretch this, because how far they can go will be the answer to how far they can potentially go if this thing goes green to the end. You see, they last pit in lap 142, 141-ish, which means even with the pit stops that we saw and the pace laps that came after it, can't imagine they run much more than about 5 laps here, tops, before they have to absolutely come down pit road. And that would put them about 55 laps-ish of the checkered flag, which is, I think, just too much to ask for. Yeah, so even for the folks running long here, this looks like it's going to still have to be 2 more stops at the end of this thing.
Even pushing into 190. The driver's looking at making 2 stops to get to the end. Makes sense to me. And there in the background, Beckett Brown is still challenging for position. And speaking of challenging for position, here comes Barnes and Devin Curl. 15 and the 27 pick up right where they left off before the pit stop cycle. That will go the 27's way on that low line, I presume.
Yeah, we're going to watch here. Barnes works to the inside. Hayes in the picture as well. All of these cars fighting for position. Hayes has got the 7th spot right now. Going back to 9th is this battle we're watching. Now make it 6th as another car up front had just come down pit road. So when they cycle through, they'll be battling for a top 5 running position. Hayes has got it right now. Barnes trying to work his way back up there. And they're all chasing right now. Technically, that is Beckett Brown in the front of this pack, although he is not on the lead lap, I don't believe. Currently scored in the 13th position, 2 laps down as they run.
Is that correct? Only 3 cars on the lead lap. Currently 4, 5, 6. There we go.
Yeah, they're
time tower updates.
Yeah, they're going to cycle through in just a second here, as we're going to be seeing a few more cars make their way onto the lead lap here as this goes. It'll all happen now that time is on pit road. So we'll see how many cars are going to establish themselves on the lead lap running position here once we see Marino come across the line. So he is now up to the lead. Looks like Curl got a huge piece of the turn 4 wall there. Right rear just slapped the outside retaining barrier. And that is certainly not going to be very kind to the right rear toe link, which we know are very fragile in these Gen 7 cars.
That was a huge hit from the right rear. I think he's going to pay the price for it. Christian Barnes and River Hayes on the same lap, battling it out. Here we go. We have 10 cars now onto the lead lap, and more as the leaderboard comes to get updated. Beckett Brown gonna be the first car on that lap down, it looks like, in the 11th spot.
Well, that is going to work out really nicely for him if there is a late yellow in position to potentially get the free pass. We know that car's had some speed. We also know it's had some damage. However, right now the action is here for the 3rd position. River Hayes has got it. Christian Barnes trying to take it away. He's not too far removed from Devin Curl either, but we're on board here with the 27 of Barnes as they make their way off of turn 2. You can see the distance to River Hayes, only a couple car lengths there through the middle of the corner.
Christian
This
Barnes,
is also
Devin Curl, and Zachary King 2 seconds back from this pack currently. There goes the number 39 of Zach Millett, who's 2 laps down on the good, from the leaders right now. So Barnes doesn't have a problem letting him by.
Yeah, now that is one of those situations where you just got to know where your battles actually are on the racetrack. So good call there. That way he gets to keep his speed up and keep his eyes on the battle at hand, which is knowing that Devin Curl's not too far behind here. Got another car on fresh tires trying to get back on the lead lap in the rear view. Next time by, it's going to be 50 laps to go. And basically from about a third of the way through this race onward, it has been all Anthony Marino. And that gap continues to be present. 2.5 seconds and counting. The gap back to Colin Bollinger. River Hayes, Barnes, and Curl, your top 5 as they sit. We're watching here this battle now for 4th. That is Barnes under attack from Curl, who's back in the mix here after hitting the wall just a couple laps ago.
And my money is on the man in the 27 machine. He's been running very well this entire race, and kind of a quiet but deadly event so far. He did lead us for 6 laps for the driver who started in 7th position, but I think he has an opportunity to climb back into that top spot potentially.
Yeah, he is starting to make some good progress here, and anything can happen. There is still a lot of laps to go, despite the fact that we are rapidly clicking through him here. Barnes holding on to this 4th spot. It's one of the best battles we've got right now in the top 10. Devin Curl applying a lot of pressure. Both of these cars qualified in the top 10. They're both running basically in the top 5 all evening long. And they continue to duke it out here. They just have not found any sort of separation from one another, regardless of when we've been out here tonight.
I just keep looking at the marbles being kicked up from this trail camera. Just so much debris on the racetrack, even on the racing line, sparks flying, rubbers out from under the cars. It's just so much. And then down on the apron, it is cluttered with marbles and pickup. So if you have to run that apron and you get all of that onto the bottom side of your car and onto your tires and have to shake it all off, you're gonna spend a lap or 2 just getting the debris off in this simulator. It's such a tricky thing. We're only running 22-second laps, so it will take about a lap or two to get back up to speed. This isn't like the Red Bull Ring where you dip 2 wheels off into the gravel. This is 4 wheels off sideways. I mean, if you get down on the marbles, I think the drivers are going to get fairly loose, don't you think, Alex?
Well, absolutely. You're going to lose a ton of traction at that point. You're not getting nearly the same friction to the racetrack. And, you know, Dover is a bit deceptive. It's only a mile, but you get up to about 170 on the straightaways. You take the corners at, you know, anywhere from 120 to 150, depending on how good your tires are grabbing the racetrack. And that is a huge variable. As now Christian Barnes down pit road, and this is going to kick off the final pit cycle of the night. This is about the outermost limit that the 27 could pit and still make it to the end. This is, you know, about 42 laps or so till the end of this thing. We were talking earlier, anywhere from about 40 to 45 laps is the estimated fuel window. So the 27 taking a gamble here and is going to run this last stint as long as he can, but trying to put fresh tires on now, trying to flip the track position here a little bit relative to the other leaders.
Landon Kelly getting mixed up with a man like Zachary King on the racetrack. They've got the concrete beneath them, and the pit stop is calling their name. Now, if you're in a battle, do you really want to stay in that battle, or do you want to avoid it by trying to get an undercut on the drivers around you? Well, the answer has been made for some, but for others, we're going to stretch this a little bit further. I do want to take a look at the last pit time for some of these drivers. Yeah, 178. So Marino, Hayes, King, Kelly, Cochran, Robertson, Wilson, Brown, Keene, Curl can push this next stint so deep if they need to, all the way out to 220, 230, if I'm not mistaken, as we get side by side between Landon Kelly and Zachary King, the 51 and the 95, going door to door.
Yeah, this is a fantastic bit of battle in between these two. You see the 95, that car starting to come to life a little bit here on slightly fresher tires. Then the 51, trying to work the inside here to a very limited amount of success. Gonna clear him that time, though, off of 4. He's now up into P3 as they sit. And, yeah, to your point, for the cars who pit around laps 178 to 180, 181-ish, you know, they could probably run this thing to about lap 225 at the absolute latest before they need to stop. So part of me wonders if some of these guys are waiting to see if something happens. Oh, boy. There is a fantastic save by the 10. He is sliding through the apron, though, trying to stay out of the way. Locks it down. Going to see if he's able to get this car going again. That is Gillen, who had lost it down the front straightaway and chased it all the way down into turns 1 and 2. You see he lost the back end just a little bit off of 4. Kept it off the outside wall, kept it off the inside wall, goes through the apron, keeps it off the pit barrier. I mean, and then somehow doesn't get collected here by Beckett Brown. And miraculously, on top of all of that, we stay green as he's able to get this car going again off of the racing surface. Miraculous stuff there from Gillum. That is, now I know it's been a frustrating day for him, currently stuck in the 15th spot, but a fantastic save that keeps Gillen in this race.
Really was a fantastic save, keeping it out of the wall. Which wall? All of them. He kept it away from all of them.
Quite literally as many as you could find on the racetrack. He kept it off of all of them, but it was close on every account.
Here comes the 27th charge on the number 39, Zach Millett, and I think his tires are starting to fade. It doesn't put up too much of a fight with Christian Barnes, who's definitely got the pace and the run on the number 39. Back up into the top 9 for Barnes. Things changing up here as looks like Marino comes down pit road next. And that leaves the rest of the drivers out to decide what they want to do. I think you've made your bet at this point. You've got to run it long and take the
Marino
short
overshot it.
Oh no!
That doesn't, it only cost him a second or two. He was only leading by a second or two, though, when he came down pit road here. This could really tighten things up when this cycles through. Oh, man, that is... If he doesn't retain the lead here, that's going to be devastating for the 45 because he had been so fast today. Working his way back onto the racetrack now. You see Barnes go flying by, but he pit earlier, so he's going to fall back probably on some older tires later in the run. Here goes River Hayes, though, to the inside. Yeah, this is not where Marino wants to find himself right now. That little bit of an overshoot on pit road has got him stuck square in the middle of some battles here for position.
A dangerous spot to be in right now with Millet and Hayes around him. These are battles for position. He's not waving blue flags. This isn't a trip around Spa-Francorchamps, that's for sure. This is Dover, one of the toughest and abrasive circuits in North America. Barring, I think, Sebring International's got to be one of the oldest as well.
Yeah, definitely one of the rougher, one of the older. Dover went through a pretty seismic repave here, most notably in the 90s when they switched from asphalt over the concrete, gives it the aesthetic that we now know it that it has. But this is not a racetrack that's particularly timed to drivers or equipment alike. As you see now, King and Cochran battling for the top spot, one of 5 cars yet to come down pit road here as the clouds are very much back here over Dover Motor Speedway, coming to 25 to go and a few laps here. And this is going to result in the track starting to cool off again just a little bit. And for these 5, they're stretching this thing. They're just hoping something happens where they're going to be able to pit under yellow, I think, at this point. But they have committed to running long, and they're going to have to see this thing through to the end.
Yeah, it's going to be a long run for these gentlemen here. But that last stint is potentially where they could thrive. We saw drivers like Colin Bollinger work their way forward early on in the stint with that fresh tire. So I really do think that it's a possibility for drivers that run long on this middle stint to be able to pull out some heroic opportunities going into the final stint. But all heroic moves come with some level of risk, and I'm not sure what the driver's level of risk level comfortability is. We know they can go wheel to wheel. We've only had 2 real cautions brought out all night long due to true as can be accidents. Other than that, it's been green and clean for nearly 226 of the 250 thus far.
Yeah, no, it's one of those deals where if you are staying out this long, you're going to have the opportunity to feel like Superman a little bit here the last 20-some laps on the freshest tires in the field. But I think you're just cutting the window too short here to really make a difference, because by the time you start getting those fresh tires to really eat up the rest of the field, you're going to be out of laps here. So I think the folks who pit late enough here in the stage where they have some time to actually work with compared to the folks who pit right at the opening of this final window are going to reap the benefits of this the most. Because I think the cars like Cochran and Robertson here, they're going to want to run this thing as long as they can, but there's only so much time they're going to have left. Because now there's only 3 cars who have yet to come down pit road for the last time. Colin Bollinger's got the top spot of folks who have pit. Currently scored 1 lap down in the 4th spot. Marino sits in 6th, so what will eventually be 3rd when everyone cycles through. You see, this is a look with River Hayes, who's trying to keep Christian Barnes at bay. 7th and 8th right now will cycle to, I believe, 4th and 5th here in just a couple laps.
Jacob Cochran, Charles Robertson, and Isaac Wilson Right now, the 1, 2, 3. Colin Bollinger, Reggie Keem, Anthony Marino, River Hayes, and Christian Barnes, Devin Curl, Zach Millett. We'll round out our top 10 currently running. And here comes Marino and Reggie Keem. Marino, like we said earlier, that 1 second slip up really cost him a lot. And you know what's going to cost him a lot of time? Oh, a little kiss to the wall for good measure. I don't think the concrete barrier appreciated that exchange of paint, but it doesn't slow down his run because now he's caught up to the 17 as well and is going to fly by very quickly Charles Robertson, who's in P2 right now. But on those old tires, can't really put up a fight.
Yeah, the thing you got to keep an eye out here, you see that battle for position on the bottom right of your screen right now, folks. That is a 1.2 second gap in shrinking between Colin Bollinger and Anthony Marino. Those are the two cars who will cycle to the front of this thing once the top three pit. And Marino is on fresher tires than the 53, I believe, so he's going to be able to keep chipping away at that deficit. However, he's got to do so in a timely enough manner to not only catch the 53, but then pass him here. And he does not have a lot of time left to do so. You see that gap, only about 16 laps next time by. So right now, Bollinger in a prime position to probably, if nothing else, finish on the podium, but looking to go to victory lane here today in a spot where he started 21st on the evening. So this has been a fantastic drive from him. But he's just got to, withstand the pressure here over the last 15 laps next time around. Cochran, Robertson, Wilson yet to come down pit road. I do not believe, though, they'll be able to stretch it too much further. I think they can go about another 5 laps before they absolutely need to dive down pit road because they'll be out of fuel.
And just as you say that, we get the first one to blink. Isaac Wilson should be the driver coming down pit road and cycling through the field. And that should kick off the remaining duo to also come down pit road. And that should be the last of the evening for everybody. Take a look at the last pit laps as well. Cochran and Robertson both on around 190, running this stint so long. But we did have a little bit of yellow flag running, which helped them extend this stint as long as it has.
Yeah, but even still, we were projecting a 40 to 45 lap situation. Cochran just made his stop here. It was 45 laps. Robertson has somehow stretched this thing about 47. So this has been a phenomenal bit of fuel save here for the 17, but he's losing a lot of speed. We saw the speed deficit when we were on board with Marino. Just not a viable long-term solution here, especially because I don't think he's going to be able to save, another 10 laps on top of the extra 3 or 4 he already has. So,
right.
Watching here with Curl. This is Devin Curl now up to 6th. Looking to try to break into the top 5 here. He's chasing Christian Barnes. He's also got Keane not too far back behind him, who's also in a situation where I think he's trying to save as much fuel as possible. But Bollinger and Marino, that is what will be the battle for the lead here. And that gap has shrunk to about 0.8 of a second between the 53 and the 45. Marino's chopping away at it. It was 1.2 seconds a few laps ago. 10 laps to go this time by. He's gonna probably have enough time to get there, but getting there and passing him are two separate things entirely.
Absolutely true. The common saying in motorsports, it's one thing to catch, it's a whole other thing to pass. Especially at a bumpy track like this, how do you work a mistake from the driver in front to get an opportunity to the inside run? Well, running it wide into the outside barrier isn't going to help, but Marino doesn't care about the paint job right now as he's been to war and back so far for the number 45. Continues to charge forward, and that gap of 0.8 of a second is going to be the battle for the lead as we officially cycle through the field. Colin Bollinger in the number 53 with an amazing run right now sits in provisional P1.
now he's got the top spot. 8 laps to go next time by. Oh, trouble turn 3, the 77 right in front of the leaders. And he gets towed back to pit road in time. That would have scared me half out of my seat if I was Colin Bollinger. I believe we stay green. Looks like they got the tow in time where the live stewards have deemed it that we'll keep this thing rolling. Well, that, I think, has actually cost Marino big time. He had to get on the brakes a little bit to avoid the 77. All that track position he had gained over the past 10, 12 laps has just gone by the wayside as King sideways on the back straightaway. What a save.
What a heroic save from the 51. And I think that will keep it green for us with just 6 laps left to go. Mistakes are being made from the front runners and everybody alike, as I think fatigue and wear starts to set in for the field. What do you think, Alex?
100%. I mean, this has been a long race. There's been a lot of green flag laps. And this is not a track where they give you a ton of time to think. You know, you're running it like a Michigan or a Daytona, Talladega, something with a very long straightaway. You have some time to mentally reset real quick before you dive back into the corners. Dover does not afford you that much time. So they just keep the hammer down, they keep pushing. And with 5 laps to go now, I mean, barring something crazy happening, things have settled out amongst the top 5. We're watching this battle here. There's King trying to work his way back to Robertson. That's the battle for 8th and 9th. Big save from King, the last car on the lead lap currently, running in that 9th position. And, you know, we're only a couple laps away here from what will be, I think, crowned as a Colin Bollinger masterclass, going from 21st to 1st if he's able to close this out here in the last 3 laps.
Heroic drive, to say the least. Definitely going to be vote for driver of the day, I would think, as he gains 20 positions on the good for the evening. Devin Curl, Christian Barnes on track. Maybe closest battle. And it's going to be for P4, P5, but all eyes for the lead battle, as it's 2 seconds between Bollinger and Marino with just 2 to go.
And he's looking really sharp right now. No lap traffic in front of him as he's got now Gillen behind him. I mean, this is a dream scenario. Coming through turn 4 for the final time. White flags in the air here at Dover. Colin Bollinger a mile away from victory lane.
He set this one up from a long way back. The preparation was set pretty much from the word go, and it was all for the final result. He didn't really mind the first stage. He didn't mind the second stage. It was the final result he was after. It will be Colin Bollinger taking the checkered flag and P1 here at Dover.
Fantastic drive from Bollinger. Anthony Marino with the most laps led on the day. He'll bring it home second. River Hayes, last week's winner, he'll rally back to a 3rd place run. A quiet but strong day for the 81. Good points day for him. As now the 53 of Bollinger going to bring it back here to the start-finish line, and he's going to burn it down here for the fans at Dover, Delaware.
And there are the provisional results for you, folks. Colin Bollinger took the win, starting in 21st position. Marino in 2nd, Hayes in 3rd, Barnes in 4th, Curl, Cochran, Kelly, Robertson, King, and Wilson rounding out your top 10.
Looking back to 11th here, that will be the Davidson machine in the 01. Zach Milton finishing 12th, just ahead of Beckett Brown. Reggie Kime 14th, Joshua Gillen finishing 15th here today ahead of Curtis White and Zach White. David Moyer brings it home 18th, with Aaron Baum and Rayshawn Winkfield finishing 19th and 20th. Most of the bottom half of the top 20 there, folks who got caught up in that lap 144 incident.
Good, Brumley, Knott, Snyder, Lewis, and Tucker rounding out the top 25 that showed up and showed out here at Dover. And now, folks, we're going to stand by for just a few moments as we get the drivers to walk up to the broadcast booth here in Delaware. And we can start talking to our race winner. Let's pull in and talk to Colin Bollinger, who took the win tonight in the number 53. Man, Colin, you came from a long way back. How did you manage to do it, driving from 21st to 1st?
I mean, pure speed, to be honest. I mean, we had I think a top 3 car all night, and we just had to start in the back. I wasn't really paying attention during qualifying. I wasn't around the PC, so it is what it is. But then just keeping it consistent. I mean, honestly, we ran a lot of green flag laps tonight, which I was very happy about, and that worked right in our favor. Just keeping consistent and just making good laps and making the passes when they came to us.
It worked out in your favor. The pace was definitely there, as it took you pretty much that entire race to climb through 21st to 1st. Was there anybody that you had an issue getting around or a problem situation? Because from our point of view, you were just calm, cool, and collected the entire time.
There was a couple guys out there that were, I don't know if the more just not paying attention, like lap car situation. You know, they were giving us a lot of air, and then sometimes you'd be underneath them and they'd still drive down in the corner like there was nobody there. But I mean, that's just, they're trying to keep themselves on the lead lap, and we're just trying to, you know, keep pace. So not really. I mean, we really didn't have nothing for Anthony. I mean, he was able to control the clean air and dirty us up a lot, and we had to do something different, so we dropped 2 on it, and we actually sandbagged it a lot out of the pits just to kind of keep the tires on for that last 15-20 laps there. And once he got to around a second and a half, I unhitched the trailer and we started going, and I was gonna see how far it went. And I know there's a spinner there in 3, and it kind of checked us both up. But I think even he said it might have been like 2 or 3 tenths between us on the last lap. But you never know. I mean, he might have made a move, and it might not have worked out in my favor. So
yeah,
you know, I'm just happy that we brought it home.
Anything can and will happen in motorsports. It typically does, but it went your way tonight, Colin. Anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank on the victory tonight?
Just all the guys back at Team Delusional, Team Delusion Racing. My paint scheme guy, Daniel Plant Smith, he does a great job on all the schemes I run here and many other leagues. And just you guys for putting on a good broadcast. And can't wait to go watch it back and see how excited you guys were for this grind fest out there tonight.
Right on, Colin. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night, and as always, stay safe out there, brother.
You too. Thank you, guys.
And next up for Alex, it'll be Anthony Marino.
Hey there, Anthony. You got a copy?
Yes, I do. Hello.
Oh, hello. Well, I'll tell you what, man, we got to see that number 45 on camera quite a bit here tonight. You were up front and rolling. Really, since the moment stage 2 opened up, you were kind of in control of this race. And then, you know, that last pit cycle there, looks like you may have overshot the box just a little bit. Is that ultimately what put you in the situation you found yourself in on that last stint?
No, I barely overshot it, but it definitely did lose me a little bit of time. But what mainly got me, lost me the win was taking 4 tires. I was really on the fence of between 2 and 4, and I thought that my lead was big enough to take 4. It wasn't, and then it was just a driver's issue because I was burning them off for the final little stint trying to catch Colin.
Yeah, certainly felt like tonight that once you got, or not you specifically, but once a car got back in traffic, it was fairly difficult to work your way back to the front. We saw that with the stage one winner, Beckett Brown, as well, and then you on that last stint. I mean, you nearly got there, but just a little bit short on time as you were turning through the tires. What was it like trying to pass out there tonight at Dover? You know, not a place notoriously well known for it being an easy place to pass.
Um, I didn't really get the opportunity to actually have to pass anyone because Beckett, who's my teammate, he got damage in the first stage, and then I just was kind of gifted the lead, and from there I didn't really have to pass anyone, and the people that I did have to pass, I was either on a tire advantage or they were a lap car, so I really didn't get the opportunity to see how passing is.
You know, honestly, that's entirely fair. But that's probably a preferable place to be, all things considered. I mean, you led 123 laps here tonight. Definitely the most of anybody in the field. And you're bringing home a pretty strong result for you here. Do you carry a result like this as momentum going into next week, or is this more of a situation where you're like, what could have been?
Well, this was my first race, and this is a one-off race unless I get full time. We'll see. But I I think of it as a what could have been race because I was so close. But what you gonna do?
100%. Well, hey, it was a lot of fun seeing you in your season debut here tonight. Could have fooled me with how strong your driving was out there, man. You were cruising, and you were making it look easy for the most part. But Anthony, anyone you'd like to shout out here on the podium result here tonight?
I would like to thank Dam Motorsports, Derek, all of them letting me have a shot in this 45 car. Really fast, really good. I had a great time. The Graham Crackers Racing, Grady Graham, who spotted me for the final stage tonight, and Ryko set up shop as well.
Alrighty. Well, Anthony, congrats on the run here tonight, and hopefully your run here tonight means we'll get to see you more often here on Friday nights here in Mystic Racing. So until next time, my man, congrats, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And that is your second place finisher here. Anthony Moreno Jr. led the most laps, but came up one spot short here tonight.
Next in, we're going to be dragging in River Hayes. Dragging him by the neck because I'm sure he's tired from wringing the neck out of this next gen car. River Hayes started in fifth, couldn't lead us for a single lap, unfortunately, but able to pull out a heroic podium, I feel like, for the number 81. River Hayes, who didn't you battle with tonight?
Anthony, for the most part. I'd say he was pretty good tonight. Yeah. Man, it was a struggle in dirty air tonight. I just couldn't get up front to where I wanted to be to escape the dirty air, and I felt like if I could have gotten clean air on a restart on fresh tires, I would have been all right. But just couldn't do it, and I ended up having to burn a set in the second stage just to catch up because I slid the box in the first stage and lost a bunch of spots. But overall, I'll take it. It was a solid night, top five. So good points tonight. We're catching the leader. So
Absolutely, River Hayes. It's looking good for you in the championship contention as well. And this third place spot is definitely going to help with that tonight. Now, let's talk about track preparation. When it comes to an instance like Dover, what's it like getting prepared for a 250 lap race?
yeah, I mean, coming into it, I knew like last week we ran Dover in the Xfinity car, and that car is 10 times worse than this car as far as dirty air goes. And I knew that, getting your nose out of the dirty air is just it's crucial to maintaining tire. So I did my best to, rotate the center as much as I could. This car doesn't want to turn in on entry very well. But if you're experienced enough and you're in front of somebody and you can mirror drive them just good enough, you can kill their tires. So I had a couple instances tonight where I just chewed them up, but happy with the result, and we'll go get them next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, River. Anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank on the podium tonight?
Yeah, I want to shout out Smith's Race Development, Ryan Pelfrey, and my teammate Devin Curl, and thanks you guys for putting on a good show.
Thank you so much, River Hayes. Have a great night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
Thank you.
And it looks like last but not least will be Beckett Brown. Alex?
Hey there, Beckett. You got a copy?
Hello, what's up, buddy?
Not much, not much. Well, I tell you what. Start of this race, man, it looked like you were the car of the beat. You were flying in that opening stage. Then, from what I'm hearing, right, it was a speeding penalty on pit road that got you caught back in traffic?
I mean, I did definitely speed on pit road, but I was my plan was to get that damage fixed, only 20 seconds, and then I mean, I was going to the back anyway, so accidentally speeding didn't really hinder me that much. But yeah, that definitely didn't help going to the back regardless.
And then from there, it seemed like you were starting to work on that warpath back to the front until whatever happened around lap 140, 144-ish there with you. And I want to say it was a 35 coming out of turn 2. From your point of view, what were you seeing as you were exiting the corner there when all that went down?
Yeah, so we worked our way through stage 2, got back up to 8th or 9th or whatever, got the stage points, and on the restart, I got through my pit stall a little bit, so that put me behind back there, and we were just tight, I didn't hit him any lap before, and I drove under him, and then he backed off to try and get the drive off, and it just got me loose. And I mean, I was half the way at the throttle trying to just keep it going straight, and he just never lifted for me and turned me around, and so got a lot of good cars.
Yeah, certainly was the big one here tonight, if you can say so, for Dover Motor Speedway. But ultimately, you're able to kind of piece that thing back together, and you finish 13th. I guess I got to ask you, how do you look at a night like tonight, where obviously the result doesn't necessarily match the pace that you had, especially early on? Do you look at the speed as something that's good momentum going into next week, or do you look at this as like it would have been nice to get the result that we had for the speed we had early on?
It was definitely going to be a battle between me and my teammate Anthony. I just got behind on the pit strategy for him, but I mean, it shows good speed. Bristol is obviously a shorter version of Dover, so it's probably going to be a lot more chaotic and an extra 50 laps, and we're going to catch lap traffic a lot faster. So you never really know with Bristol. It's going to be challenging working through the traffic and trying to keep the car clean. But overall, I think it shows that we've had good speed and we're consistent. It hurts to not get the finishes, but to have the speed, it shows that we're here to be serious and win.
Alrighty, well, Baggett, I definitely think that's a good way to look at it, especially with Bristol being just a smaller Dover. That is a very, very solid comparison, I feel like. But ultimately, it was a lot of fun to watch a race out there. And while the result may not have been what you were hoping for, we're hoping that in races to come here, we'll get to see that 48 up in the front battling like it was early on. But before we let you go, anyone you'd like to shout out here on the run tonight?
Obviously, Dan Motorsports and Adam for letting me take over the 48. I may not be in the 48 much longer. We may have some new driver stuff going down, and we'll see with the penalty points what goes down in the post race. So overall, looking good to Bristol, as we know.
Alrighty, well, Beckett, talk to you soon here, hopefully, and best of luck the rest of the way this season.
Thank you, you too.
And that is the number 48 driver of Beckett Brown, who won stage number 1 here tonight, led over 50 laps in this one, but will finish 13th here this evening.
What an amazing event, Alex. The 250 flew by in a blink of an eye. Battles for the lead, battles in the middle of the pack, battles for not last. It was just an amazing race, and we had 9 drivers finish on the lead lap. It wasn't really a battle between drivers as much as it was between the conditions that they had to face tonight.
100%. I could not have said it better myself. It was very much a night where you're racing the track more than the cars around you necessarily. pretty clean race by all stretch of the imagination. Only 4 cautions, only 2 of which were naturally occurring. So a lot of it was just making sure you execute during green flag stops, executing on long green flag runs, and making sure you're not chewing up your tires. And the folks who were able to do that were the folks that we talked to here tonight. They were able to work their way to the front when it was all said and done.
With that being said, folks, all good things have to come to a close, and so shall this. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. On behalf of Alex Gagnon, but on behalf of myself, and behalf of VSPEED and Mystic Racing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Get notifications for when we go live next. Mystic Racing is always live on VSPEED. Have a great night, everybody. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Bye-bye for now.